All right, Loki. It took 6 episodes in the second season, but now you've got my attention. But I still don't like you. And welcome to my safe Gaven, everybody. Thank you guys so much for joining me for another video here on the BlackGayComicGeek channel. Thank you guys for allowing me to accomplish another milestone here on the channel of crossing 8,000 subscribers. If this is your first time checking out my channel or you're one of my new subscribers, let me introduce myself. My name is Michael. I call myself the BlackGayComicGeek, and I always say the things that I love to talk about on my channel has blood, sex, gore, and magic, or any variation of the four. So I like to talk superheroes, video games, comic books, action movies, horror movies, and of course I like to talk about black representation and queer representation. So if that's something that you're interested in, if you think representation matters and representation equals normalization, do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, become one of my safe Gaveneers, which is what I call my followers. And also, if you could do me a favor and hit that like button, it'll really help with the YouTube algorithm, getting this video out there, getting my channel out there, so I can continue to grow to 8,500, 9,000, 10,000, 11,000, etc., etc., etc. But with that said, guys, we are here to talk about the season 2 finale, maybe the series finale of Loki. That's still up in the air, whether we're getting another season based on how it ended, probably not. And this is going to be a spoiler review. So if you haven't seen the season 2 finale of Loki, time for you to dip. Go check it out. Go watch Loki and then come back here. But if you don't care or you want to support the channel, let the video play in the background. Hit the like button, leave a comment, and then come back for the watch time and the algorithm. But anyway, season 2, episode 6 of Loki, called Glorious Purpose, tells the story of Loki finally finds out the true meaning of what the phrase glorious purpose means as he rectifies all the damage that has been done to the TVA during this jaw-dropping season finale or series finale. And just like I said in the intro of this video, this is really the only episode this season that I found myself actively invested in. For the most part, every other episode this season, I've been struggling to pay attention. Like, I've been bored pretty much every episode this season. And last episode, when I really started to perk up, is when the spaghettifying effects took place towards the end of the episode, especially when, like, Sylvie was in that record shop and you saw like the mug disappearing, the guy disappearing, all of that stuff. That's when I really started to pay attention. And this episode, I was paying attention from start to finish. But with that said, despite being interested in this episode, based on how this season ended and everything that happened in this episode, and this is what I said, where I was like, I was interested, but I still don't like it, because I feel like this whole season could have been about an hour and a half. And we still would have gotten the same conclusion based on where we started and how we ended. And it's funny because one of my biggest complaints about the Disney Plus shows is there aren't enough episodes. But I feel with Loki, it might be the opposite effect. Like, Loki shouldn't be a TV series. It should be a mini movie, almost kind of like how Werewolf by Night was. I think Loki would work better in that format than in an episodic format. Because think about where this show started versus where we ended. Like, why did we need all that other stuff in the beginning when he had the time slipping ability in the very beginning of the show? And granted, obviously he had to get control of it and all of the other stuff, but even in the beginning of this episode, he didn't have control of it. He had to learn to get control of it, and he eventually got control of it by the end. But it's still just like, okay, so this movie or this show could have been in like an hour and a half. We didn't need all that extra stuff. And so going through the episode, you see he has the ability to control his time slipping. He keeps going back in time to try to, go earlier so that Victor Timely doesn't spaghettify and doesn't disintegrate. Mobius, or not Mobius, Ouroboros, OB, basically was like, okay, well, maybe if we started earlier, there's less radiation, he wouldn't disintegrate and he wouldn't spaghettify so quickly. So he kept going back earlier and earlier and earlier and kept getting the same result. And almost in a Groundhog's Day type move, where like Bill Murray through the Groundhog's Day and the constant repeating of the day, he learned to play the piano. He learned to play the piano better than his teacher, and he learned a bunch of other stuff. We saw that Loki ended up learning and becoming a better scientist with regards to the TVA, on par with both Victor Timely and Ouroboros by learning from the two of them and reading the TVA book. You saw it says it took him centuries to get to that part, or get to that point rather. And so seeing Loki go through all of that, essentially becoming a coach to Victor Timely and talking him through everything, like I enjoyed seeing that from Loki and Tom Hiddleston's performance and the comedic aspects of it. Like I thought that was interesting. And again, talking about this show, it's beautiful to watch. I love the level of detail that they put into like the TVA and the way the cinematography is in this show. And lately we've been complaining about the Marvel's VFX with the terms of the budget and rushing the VFX artists, but at least with Loki, I feel like they took their time with this show. And so the VFX and the quality of the VFX always look great. And so in terms of eye candy, this show is quenching my sweet tooth. But again, I just feel like all of this could have been done in an hour and a half. Because even when you think about the very beginning of this season, where it's all about looking for Sylvie, looking for Sylvie, looking for Sylvie. Really, what did Sylvie add to this season? She didn't really add much. And what? It was just about getting her to the point to give permission to kill her in the end, which she ended up not doing anyway. But also getting to another standout moment for this season. Again, seeing Jonathan Majors play Kang the Conqueror, or rather in this case, He Who Remains. And I like seeing all the different nuances and variations of each character that he plays. Like him as He Who Remains was very different than the He Who Remains from last season. And you kind of saw him dropping his veneer and seeing why he was the one that remained at the end of time. And it was also very different than how he portrayed his Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man versus how very different of how he portrayed Victor Timely in the earlier incarnations of this season. And you got to see a little bit of the menace from He Who Remains and how he was talking to Loki and basically saying, like, when Sylvie killed him at the end, and he was like, you think I didn't have a contingency plan for this? You didn't think I didn't see this coming? You didn't think I knew this was going to be the outcome, and that this conversation that we're having right here, I didn't know that we weren't going to have this conversation. Like, again, the road that you're walking, I paved the road. And so that's what I want to see from Kang going forward. Now, we don't know if we're going to get that because of how this season ended and then everything that's going on with Jonathan Majors. There's rumors that because of all the legal issues happening with Jonathan Majors, they're dropping Kang. They're going to use this of Loki recreating the timeline as saying that Kang no longer exists. Kang is no longer a threat. So we're going to pivot to a different big bad. And then there's also, I think, talks that they fired the writers for Kang Dynasty because they were hired because they were the Kang experts. Well, if we're no longer doing Kang, we don't need Kang expert writers anymore. So there's talks about them pivoting to Doctor Doom, which honestly makes the most sense if you're going to do Secret Wars, because whether you talk about the Secret Wars event in the comics in the 80s or the recent Secret Wars event that happened in 2015, Doctor Doom was a pivotal role and a pivotal contributor to both Secret Wars events. But I'm just like, okay, so if you're going to get Doctor Doom, we need to get him now because we haven't even gotten a tease to Doctor Doom yet. And Fantastic Four isn't coming until 2025. But with that said, I love seeing the interaction and the solo interaction without the involvement of Sylvie between Loki, Tom Hiddleston, and He Who Remains, Jonathan Majors, and seeing their dynamic and chemistry of interweaving and interspersing with each other. And the thing that I really enjoyed about this episode is funny because I felt the same way about season 1, where I didn't really care for season 1 that much. And it wasn't until the last episode that I started to become invested and interested in season 1. And it kind of does the same thing that happened with season 2. It's not till the last episode that I became interested, and mostly because of what this can potentially signify for the greater MCU, and then also where it leaves Loki by the end. Like, Loki is now essentially the custodian of the multiverse. A lot of people are calling him the God of Stories because that's what he is in the comics. He's not the God of Stories in the MCU. He's the custodian of the multiverse. And actually, Rob from Comics Explained perfectly explains that. So if you don't follow Rob, or if you want to check out or get more information about that, go to Comics Explained's YouTube channel and see what the custodian of the multiverse entails and who that character is in the comics versus now it's Loki. But seeing that and just seeing how far Loki has grown in terms of like him basically being the savior of the multiverse. Like, you think about his character in Ragnarok when he showed up on the ship to save the Asgardians, and he said, "Your savior is here." And he did it from a purely selfish standpoint. He wanted to be the ruler and everything like that. And now technically he is fulfilling that purpose. He is fulfilling the purpose of being the one to save everyone. But instead of it being from a purely selfish standpoint, it's more than just that. And his character has kind of taken a full circle beat. Because remember, this is the Loki from the end of the Battle of New York, and then seeing where he is and seeing where he ended up. It's great. I wish we got to see, or we will get to see, again, hopefully we get to see more of him, or maybe he gets to recruit a multiversal Avengers if we are still going the Kang route, because he knows what we're dealing with. He knows He Who Remains, he knows Kang, so he gets to recruit a multiversal Avengers, or we finally get to see maybe a final moment between him and Thor, being that, again, this is the Loki that we saw in the battle at Endgame. So hopefully we don't get to see, this isn't the final moment that we get to see of his character. Because I would like to see a final moment or a final conclusion between him and his brother Thor. And actually Thor getting to see his brother fully evolved, fully changed, and be the man that Thor hopes he would be. Because you think about that moment in Avengers Endgame, or not Avengers Endgame, Thor Ragnarok, where Thor says to Loki, "I've always respected you, Loki. I've always saw the good in you, Loki. I've always wanted you to be better, Loki, and I've always knew you had the potential, but every single time you keep disappointing me, you keep betraying me. At a certain point, I can't keep hoping for something that continuously is not gonna happen." So I would like to finally see that moment of like, look, I've actually changed. I'm actually better. And so, again, that's something that I want. That's a character moment that I want. That's a character development I want. Hopefully we get it. But anyway, this review is not going to be that long because, like I said, I don't really have much else to say. Like, yeah, I was interested in this episode, but I feel like based on what we got from this episode could have been an hour and a half and we didn't need all the other stuff. And so with that said, I'm still intrigued of where this is going to leave us in terms of the multiverse from here forward. Like, is this going to come into play going forward? Probably not, because if you think about Secret Invasion and the Marvels, quick spoiler, it's not going to be a big spoiler, but a tiny spoiler for the Marvels, but Secret Invasion didn't come into play for the Marvels at all. They don't even reference Secret Invasion. Considering everything that happened in Secret Invasion with the Skrulls and Captain Marvel dealing with the Skrulls and the Kree, you would think that would play a key factor in what happened in Secret Invasion, especially considering Nick Fury is also in the Marvels, and Secret Invasion is supposed to take place weeks before the Marvels. You would think there would be some type of dialogue between Carol and Sam, I mean, not Sam, but Nick Fury, with regards to what happened, the fact that the president declared war on all the Skrulls and all aliens in the United States, like, but whatever, so maybe it's not gonna come into play in the movies. But anyway, I ranted enough, but what did you guys think about Loki? Did you like it? Because again, there are a lot of people that really love this season of Loki, saying it's the best thing, not just the best thing out of Phase 5, but one of the best things that the MCU has put out, period. One of the best Disney Plus shows that the MCU has put out, period. I disagree. It's not my number one. Honestly, I really liked Hawkeye. A lot of people don't like Hawkeye, but outside of the finale, I really enjoyed Hawkeye. I don't know. Maybe it's just, but I feel like what Hawkeye did that a lot of other Disney Plus shows didn't do, outside of maybe WandaVision, but WandaVision didn't stick the landing. I guess Hawkeye didn't really stick the landing either. But you got a lot of character development in Hawkeye. You got to learn more about Clint in Hawkeye. You got to learn about Kate Bishop in Hawkeye. You got that excellent conversation and battle of wits between Yelena and Kate. Like, and that's the stuff that I love. And that's the stuff and the moments that I want from these Disney Plus shows, because we see these characters in the movies, but we don't get enough information about them. So now these shows should be telling us more and developing these characters more based on what we didn't get in the movies. Like, even when it comes to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, sure, we got to see Sam Wilson a lot, but we don't really learn a lot about Sam Wilson in the movies. But then you get to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I feel like we learned more and got more development for the character of Bucky than we did for Sam. All we really learned about Sam was he has a sister and he's from Louisiana. But what else? So that's my biggest complaint about these Disney Plus shows. Like, I feel like they're not adding more to the character. They're just throwing them in situations, but they're not giving us and developing them more to make us care about them more, so that when they are thrown into these next phases as the new leaders of the MCU. We would have more investment in them. But anyway, I could continue to go on a rant about that from here to Kingdom Come. But what did you guys think about Loki season 2? How does this compare to season 1? How did you feel about the finale? How did you feel about the season overall? Is this your favorite episode? Is this your least favorite episode? Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, if you can, hit that thumbs up button and like this video to really help out with the channel. If this is one of your first time checking out one of my videos, please check out the other videos on my channel. If you like what you see, please subscribe for more and hit that bell notification button so you're alerted every single time I post a new video. And tell your friends, families, and neighbors about my channel to help me continue to grow. And as always, I will catch you guys next time.